Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 10 Minutes with Kuhle. I'm your host, Kuhle Maseko. This is the only podcast where we try to make sense of a country that can't decide if it's a republic or a reality show or just a really elaborate prank on taxpayers. I guess we're all actors in an unpaid film. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by Loadshedding, keeping relationships romantic and economies stagnant since 2008. Previously, we discussed, or rather, we spoke about how logic has taken a backseat. Race is forever relevant, and the president of South Africa needs trauma counseling every time the lights flicker. Let's talk about Cyril Ramaphosa, the man, the myth, the man with a PhD in avoiding straight answers and a minor in executive gaslighting. So this week, the president bravely stood in parliament and told us he dreams of a South Africa where no longer classify people by race. But wait for it. We still need to classify everyone by race until further notice. Yes, abolishing racism through more racism. It's like saying you want to quit alcohol, so you're switching to whiskey until the wine finishes fermenting. And if you thought that was confusing, wait for the plot twist. The Patriotic Alliance, you know the party that looks like the United Nations got stuck in a TikTok filter, asked a decent question for the first time. Mr. President, who exactly counts as African? Because apparently you can be born in Mamelodi, speak isiZulu better than the Minister of Arts and Culture, eat pap with your hands, still be told, sorry, you're not African enough. But thank heavens, our president, in his ever expanding knowledge, cleared it up. He said, we are all Africans, except when we're not, because stats don't say it. Here's a stat. Over 92% of the South African population is Black African, according to StatsSA, and somehow still marginalized, supposedly, by the 8%. It's the only country where a numerical majority is somehow still oppressed by 30 years later. Mind you, Japan, after 30 years during World War II, was able to grow their economy to the second largest in the world. So instead of focusing on growing the economy, jobs, infrastructure, electricity, we're managing skin tones like a skincare brand with a diversity quota. But wait. Kenneth Meshoe, bless his practical soul, asked Cyril, isn't there another way to classify people? And Cyril replies completely seriously, if you want to classify by race, we're saying everything is equal. What? No, Cyril. It means we're treating people equally, not pretend inequality doesn't exist. But thank you for the insight. Equality is dangerous because it might hide inequality, kind of like ANC policies hiding billions in potholes. But wait, there's more. Our presidential globetrotter takes the trauma tour international and lands in the Oval Office last week, face to face with Donald J. Trump. Now, Trump never want to waste a dim moment, lowers the lights, not from but to press play on his favorite YouTube clip. Kill the Boer, kill the farm. Trump's face confused, Cyril's face triggered. It was the dimmer switch all over again. Imagine that. A billionaire, property mogul, and part-time golf villain showing you a South African freedom karaoke track and going, Cyril, why is this guy not in jail? And Cyril, oh boy, delivers the comedic climax. It's constitutionally protected speech. So just to recap, singing about murdering a racial group protected? Saying all lives matter is racist? Welcome to 2025, the year the Constitution became a suggestion. And then At a conference in Cape Town earlier on today, the president sees the lights go down and says, I thought it was happening again. Yes, the man is now officially afraid of shadows. PTSD triggered by ambiance. Loadshedding is now a psychological operation. And who does he blame for the trauma? 702's very own Clement Manyathela. Because obviously, it's the journalist's fault the lights were dimmed. I mean, who gave him the power to control the American grid? Do you know what? South Africa has become a nation where the president blames trauma on journalists. Julius Malema drops mixtapes with genocide lyrics, and the opposition benches are filled with clowns fighting over who's got the best struggle credentials. Meanwhile, Eskom's fleet is producing less power than a teapot. The youth unemployment rate is at 46.5%, and GDP per capita is lower than the national vibe. But never mind the facts. Let's argue about melanin levels. Let's ignore that we're now importing potatoes, exporting doctors, and taxing the middle class like it's a colonial revenge plot. Let's forget that more than 60% of South Africans live on social grants, and nearly 18 million people are waiting for the economy to restart like a frozen laptop. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's really startling to think how we get to a point where unemployment in Palestine, which is a war-torn, I won't call it a state, I don't even want to call it a country, but a war-torn area, is much lower than South Africa. Crazy. How unemployment in drought Zimbabwe, in Zimbabwe with no food, is lower than South Africa. The only country with more unemployment than South Africa is Djibouti, which is sitting in the Horn of Africa. Crazy, it's ludicrous. And somehow we all sit and think it's not a problem. Somehow we don't speak when the minister increases tax against you. You know, for many of us, including myself, who pay tax, the highest tax bracket is about 45%, that you pay towards SARS. And that means that, your Freedom Day only comes 5 months into the year. That means for 5 out of 12 months, you are literally not earning a cent. You are just giving money straight back into the commun's hands. Crazy. It's less ludicrous. Yeah. And you don't know where the money is going to because, the more tax goes up, VAT had a possibility of going up, petrol goes up, the more potholes there are, the more corruption there is, the more abandoned buildings there are, the more expropriation without compensation becomes a topic, the more billable is there, the more we have useless things that aren't dealing with the problems. It's crazy. So in conclusion, comrades, we fight racism by being more racist. We fight poverty by hiring ministers who think budget cuts mean firing the only competent guy. And we fight unemployment by holding diversity seminars in candlelight, singing songs that scare investors into relocating to Zambia. H.S. Chilima is doing something incredible there, won't lie. But don't worry, Cyril Ramaphosa has a plan. It's just still loading. Right next to that, digital migration, that bullet train to Messina, and smart city in Limpopo powered by Elon Musk's dreams. Kill the Boer, mashed up with Nkosi Sikelel Africa, powered by solar panels, the only ones that work. Remember, racism is bad unless it's for BEE. Killing is wrong unless it's a liberation remix. Government is accountable unless the lights are off. Good night, South Africa. Or should I say,